The Galactic Concord had ruled the stars for 12,000 years. Their empire stretched across 1,000,000 worlds. Their fleets numbered in the hundreds of thousands. Their word was law, and their law was simple: obey or be destroyed. Ambassador Thesic Valnorian had served the Concord for 300 years. He had welcomed 67 new species into the fold. He had watched them arrive in their tiny ships, their primitive technology barely holding together. He had seen the fear in their eyes when they realized how small they truly were, and he had enjoyed every moment of it. Today would be no different. Thesic stood in the ceremonial reception bay of Station Apex 7, the largest space station in the known galaxy. Around him stood representatives from 43 different species. They had come to witness the humbling of yet another young race. It was tradition, it was entertainment, it was a reminder of the natural order of things. "Tell me about these humans," Thesic said to his aide, a nervous young creature named Pelix. Pelix pulled up the data on his tablet. "They call their world Earth, Ambassador, a small blue planet in an unremarkable star system. They achieved faster-than-light travel approximately 60 years ago. Their technology is basic. Their society is fractured into many different nations and groups. They fight among themselves constantly." Thesic made a sound of disgust. "Barbarians, then? How typical." "Yes, Ambassador. Our analysts believe they pose no threat whatsoever. They are decades, perhaps centuries, behind even the weakest Concord member. And yet they spread quickly," another diplomat observed, a tall creature with silver skin and 4 arms. "Our scouts report human colonies on over 200 worlds already." Thesic waved his hand dismissively. "Insects spread quickly, too. It does not make them dangerous." He looked out the massive viewport at the stars beyond. "What matters is that they learn their place. That is why we summoned them." The summons had been sent 3 months ago. It was the same message the Concord sent to every new spacefaring species. "Come to Station Apex 7. Send one vessel. Bring your best representatives. Learn where you stand in the great order of the galaxy." The message did not say these things directly, of course. It spoke of friendship and cooperation. It spoke of mutual benefit and shared knowledge. But everyone understood the truth beneath the pretty words. This was not an invitation, it was a command. And it was a chance for the Concord to remind newcomers of their insignificance. "Their ship should arrive within the hour," Pelix reported. "Based on their technology level, we expect a small shuttle, perhaps room for 5 or 6 passengers." "Prepare the standard welcome," Thesic ordered. "Full honor guard, all 43 representatives in formal dress. I want these humans to see exactly what they are joining. I want them to feel small." The preparations began. Soldiers in gleaming armor took their positions. Diplomats adjusted their robes and practiced their condescending smiles. The viewing galleries filled with curious observers, all eager to see the latest primitives stumble into galactic politics. Thesic allowed himself a small smile. He had done this many times before. The pattern was always the same. The newcomers would arrive in their pathetic little ship. They would see the massive station, the assembled might of 43 civilizations. Their confidence would crumble, their pride would break, and they would sign whatever treaty the Concord placed before them. It was almost too easy. What Thesic did not know, what none of them knew, was that humanity had studied the Concord very carefully. They had intercepted communications. They had analyzed the fates of other species who had answered the summons. They had seen how the Concord treated those who came in weakness, and humanity had made a decision. Far across the galaxy, in a secure military facility orbiting Mars, Admiral Chen Wei stood before a holographic display. Around her sat the Joint Chiefs of Earth's Interstellar Navy, along with Secretary General Marcus Webb and a dozen senior diplomats. "The Concord expects us to send a shuttle," Admiral Chen said. "They expect us to come hat in hand, begging for scraps from their table." "And what do you propose instead?" Secretary General Webb asked. Admiral Chen smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "I propose we send them a message they will never forget." The display changed, showing the massive form of a Titan-class dreadnought. 3 kilometers of armor and weapons. The pride of Earth's fleet. "The INS Perseverance," Admiral Chen announced. 60 years old, but still one of our most impressive vessels. I recommend we send her as our diplomatic envoy." There was silence in the room. You want to send a warship to a peace summit? One of the diplomats asked, his voice shaking. I want to send a statement, Admiral Chen corrected. The conquered respects only strength. If we arrive in a shuttle, they will treat us like servants. If we arrive in a dreadnought, they will be forced to treat us as equals. It could be seen as a threat, another diplomat warned. Good, Admiral Chen replied. Let them wonder what else we have. Let them question their assumptions. Let them realize that humanity will not kneel. Secretary General Webb was quiet for a long moment. He thought of all the species who had come before humanity, the ones who had bent to the conquered's will, the ones who had become servants in all but name. He thought of Earth's children spreading across the stars, building a future among the distant worlds. He would not let that future be stolen. Send the Perseverance, he ordered. And Admiral, make sure she looks impressive. Admiral Chen's smile widened. She always does, sir. And so, while the Concorde prepared their ceremonies of humiliation, while Ambassador Thesic practiced his speeches of condescension, humanity prepared something very different. They prepared a surprise. The Perseverance departed Earth orbit 3 days later, her hull gleaming, her weapons charged, her crew of 5,000 standing ready. Captain Helena Vasquez stood on the bridge, watching the stars blur into lines as the ship entered hyperspace. Course laid in for Station Apex 7, her navigator reported. Arrival in approximately 6 hours. Captain Vasquez nodded. She thought about what waited for them. The ancient powers of the galaxy, confident in their superiority. The trap they had laid for humanity, wrapped in silk and called diplomacy. They were expecting a shuttle. They were expecting fear. They were expecting another species to break. Helena Vasquez looked at her crew, at the determination in their eyes, at the pride in their bearing. These were the sons and daughters of Earth. They had crossed the void between stars. They had built cities on alien worlds. They had faced the unknown and made it their home. They did not break. They did not bend. They did not kneel. All hands, Captain Vasquez announced over the ship-wide channel. Prepare for diplomatic operations. We're going to introduce ourselves to the galaxy. She paused, then added with a slight smile, let's make it memorable. The censor officer was the first to notice something was wrong. His name was Torvix, and he had worked at Station Apex 7 for 20 years. He had tracked thousands of ships entering and leaving the station. He knew every signature, every pattern, every normal reading that the sensors could produce. What he saw now was not normal. Ambassador, he called out, his voice cracking slightly, there may be a problem with our sensors. Thesic turned from his conversation with the other diplomats. He was annoyed at the interruption. The humans were due to arrive any moment, and everything needed to be perfect for their humiliation. What kind of problem? He demanded. Torvik stared at his screens, running the numbers again and again. The human vessel is dropping out of hyperspace now, sir. But the readings are wrong. The mass signature is much too large. How large? Torvik swallowed hard. Larger than this station, Ambassador. For a moment there was complete silence in the reception bay. Then Thesic laughed. It was a short, harsh sound. Impossible. Your equipment must be damaged. A primitive species like humanity could not possibly build something that size. Check your sensors again. I have checked them, sir. 3 times. The readings are accurate. Before Thesic could respond, the viewport blazed with light. The characteristic flash of a ship exiting hyperspace filled the ceremonial bay with brilliant white radiance. Everyone turned to look. And then the gasp began. The INS Perseverance emerged from the void like a mountain given life. She was 3 kilometers long from bow to stern. Her hull was dark gray, scarred by old battles and marked with the proud insignia of Earth's interstellar navy. Weapons bristled from every surface. Gun turrets the size of buildings tracked slowly across the stars. Missile pods lined her flanks like scales on some great beast. She was not a shuttle. She was not a diplomatic vessel. She was a warship, a dreadnought, a machine built for one purpose, destruction, and she dwarfed everything the Concorde had brought to the station. Ambassador Thesic felt his legs go weak. Around him, the other diplomats were reacting with shock and fear. Some were backing away from the viewport, as if the ship might attack at any moment. Others were shouting into communicators, demanding answers from people who had none to give. "That's not possible," whispered the silver-skinned diplomat who had spoken earlier. "They've only had FTL for 60 years. How could they build something like that?" No one had an answer. Thesic forced himself to breathe. He was a diplomat. He had handled difficult situations before. He could handle this. "Contact them," he ordered, his voice steadier than he felt. "Standard greeting protocols. Find out what they want." Torvix worked his console with shaking fingers. "Channel open, Ambassador." Before Thesic could speak, a voice came through the speakers. It was a woman's voice, calm and professional, speaking the common galactic language with a slight accent. "Station Apex 7, this is Captain Helena Vasquez of the INS Perseverance, representing the people of Earth. We have arrived in response to your invitation, requesting docking clearance for our shuttlecraft." Thesic blinked. "Shuttlecraft? You wish to dock a shuttle?" he managed. "That is correct, Station Apex 7. The Perseverance herself will remain in a parking orbit at a respectful distance. We do not wish to crowd your other visitors." Thesic looked at the massive ship filling the viewport, at a respectful distance. As if that behemoth could ever be anything but intimidating, no matter where it positioned itself. "Docking clearance granted," he heard himself say. "Base 7 is available." "Thank you, Station Apex 7. Our delegation will arrive shortly. Perseverance out." The channel closed. Thesic turned to face the assembled diplomats. They stared back at him with wide eyes and pale faces. "What do we do?" Pelix asked, his voice barely a whisper. Thesic straightened his robes. He drew upon 300 years of diplomatic experience. He reminded himself that he represented the Galactic Concord, the greatest power in the known universe. "We do nothing," he said firmly. "We proceed with the ceremony as planned. This changes nothing." But even as he spoke the words, he knew they were a lie. Everything had changed. A small shuttle detached from the Perseverance and made its way toward the station. Compared to the massive dreadnought, it looked like an insect leaving the body of a whale. But even this shuttle was larger and sleeker than what they had expected. It moved with a smooth grace that spoke of advanced engineering. The shuttle landed in Base 7 without incident. The doors opened with a soft hiss, and the humans stepped out. There were 15 of them. 12 were soldiers in dark armor, carrying weapons that Thesic's experts would later determine were decades ahead of anything the Concord possessed. They moved with the quiet confidence of professionals who had seen real combat and survived. In the center walked 3 figures in formal dress. The one in front was a woman of medium height, with dark hair pulled back severely and eyes that seemed to see everything. She wore the uniform of a naval captain, decorated with medals and insignia. This was Helena Vasquez, and she was smiling. Behind her walked an older man in civilian clothes, gray-haired and dignified. Secretary General Marcus Webb, the elected leader of Earth's government. And beside him walked a younger woman with a data tablet, her eyes already scanning the room and cataloging everything she saw. They walked forward without hesitation, without fear, as if they owned the station and everyone in it. The honor guard that Thesic had prepared suddenly seemed inadequate. The gleaming armor of the Concord soldiers looked decorative rather than functional. The assembled diplomats, so confident just minutes ago, now shifted nervously in their formal robes. Captain Vasquez stopped directly in front of Ambassador Thesic. She was shorter than him by a full head, but somehow she seemed to be looking down at him. "Ambassador Thesic, I presume?" she said pleasantly. "Thank you for the invitation. Earth is honored to send representatives to this gathering." Thesic opened his mouth to deliver his prepared speech. The one about the ancient traditions of the Concord, the one about the natural hierarchy of species, the one designed to remind newcomers of their insignificant place in the galaxy. The words died in his throat. Instead, he found himself saying, "Welcome to Station Apex 7, Captain. The Concord is pleased to receive you." Helena Vasquez's smile widened slightly. She knew exactly what had just happened. The script had been thrown away. The power dynamic had shifted. "Shall we begin the negotiations?" she asked. "I believe we have much to discuss." Thesic nodded weakly. Yes, of course. Please follow me." As he led the human delegation into the station, he felt the eyes of 43 species upon him. They were waiting to see what he would do. They were waiting for him to regain control of the situation, but looking at the quiet confidence in Captain Vasquez's eyes, Thesic had a terrible feeling that control had already slipped away. And it was not coming back. The corridors of Station Apex 7 were built to impress. They were wide and tall, lined with precious metals and decorated with the symbols of 1,000 conquered worlds. For 12,000 years, newcomers had walked these halls and felt small. They had seen the wealth and power of the Concord displayed before them, and they had understood their place. Captain Helena Vasquez walked through these corridors as if she were taking a pleasant stroll through a park. Her boots echoed on the polished floor. Each step was measured and confident. The 12 Marines behind her moved in perfect formation, their weapons held ready but not threatening. Secretary General Webb walked at her side, his face calm and composed. The Concord representatives parted before them like water before a ship. Thesic led the way, struggling to maintain his dignity. He had planned everything so carefully. The ceremony, the speeches, the subtle reminders of Concord superiority. All of it was useless now. The humans had rewritten the rules simply by showing up. They reached the Grand Council chamber, a massive circular room with seats arranged in tiers around a central speaking platform. Representatives from all 43 Concord species were already seated, their attention fixed on the human delegation. "Please," Thesic said, gesturing to a small section of seats near the back. "We have prepared accommodations for your delegation." Helena looked at the seats. They were smaller than the others, positioned low and away from the center. A clear message. "You are newcomers. You sit below us." She smiled politely. "Thank you, Ambassador, but we prefer to stand." Without waiting for permission, she walked to the center of the chamber and stepped onto the speaking platform. Her Marines took positions around the room's perimeter. Secretary General Webb followed her to the platform, standing just behind her right shoulder. Thesic hurried after her. "Captain, this is highly irregular. The speaking platform is reserved for Concord officials." "Then I suggest you join me," Helena replied. "After all, this is a diplomatic meeting. We should discuss things as equals." The word hung in the air. Equals. No newcomer had ever used that word before. No species had ever dared to claim equality with the Concord. A murmur ran through the assembled representatives. Some were outraged, others were curious, all were watching. A young official from one of the more aggressive Concord species stood up. He was tall and muscular, with blue skin and sharp teeth. His people were warriors, proud of their military tradition. "You dare to speak of equality?" he demanded. "You bring a single warship to our space and think yourself our equal? Do you have any idea how many fleets the Concord commands? We could destroy your vessel with a thought." Helena turned to face him. Her expression did not change. "You could try," she said simply. The chamber fell silent. "Let me be clear," Helena continued, her voice carrying to every corner of the room. "The INS Perseverance is not here to threaten anyone. She is here to ensure that our delegation is treated with respect. That is all." "Respect?" another diplomat called out. "You are newcomers. You must earn respect." "We earned respect the moment we crossed the void between stars," Helena replied. "We earned respect when we built colonies on 200 worlds. We earned respect when we looked at the universe and refused to be afraid of it." She paused, letting her words sink in. "We are not here to beg for scraps from your table. We are here to discuss the future, our future, and yours." Secretary General Webb stepped forward. His voice was softer than Helena's, but it carried equal weight. "The people of Earth desire peace," he said. "We desire trade, cooperation, and friendship with all the species of this great Concord. We did not come here as enemies. We came here as potential partners." "Then why bring a warship?" Thesic asked. "If you want peace, why arrive with weapons ready?" Webb smiled sadly. "Because we have learned from history, Ambassador. Our history and yours. We have studied the records of other species who answered your summons. We have seen how they were treated when they came in weakness." He let that statement hang in the air for a moment. Humanity learned long ago that peace is best negotiated from a position of strength. Not because we wish to threaten anyone, but because strength earns respect, and respect is the foundation of any true partnership. The blue-skinned warrior was on his feet again. Pretty words, but words mean nothing without power to back them up. One ship, no matter how large, cannot stand against the conquered. Helena turned to face him directly. You are correct. One ship cannot stand against the Concorde. She paused. That is why we have many more. The chamber erupted in noise. Diplomats shouted questions and accusations. Some demanded proof. Others called for the humans to be expelled. Through it all, Helena stood calm and still, waiting for the chaos to subside. Thesic raised his hands for silence. It took several minutes, but eventually the chamber quieted. Captain Vasquez, he said carefully, are you claiming that humanity possesses multiple vessels of this size? I am claiming nothing, Helena replied. I am simply stating a fact. The Perseverance is our diplomatic vessel for this mission. She was chosen because she is reliable and experienced. She was not chosen because she is our best. Another wave of murmurs swept through the chamber. You expect us to believe that you have ships more powerful than that? The blue-skinned warrior scoffed. Impossible. Your species has only had faster-than-light travel for 60 years. Helena's smile returned. It was a small smile, almost gentle. We are a young species, she agreed. We make up for our youth with determination and creativity and a certain unwillingness to accept that anything is impossible. She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of as many representatives as she could. The Conquered has ruled this region of space for 12,000 years. That is impressive, but it also means you have grown comfortable. You have stopped innovating. You have stopped reaching for more. Her voice hardened slightly. Humanity has never stopped reaching. We climbed down from trees and learned to walk upright. We invented fire and tools and language. We built cities and ships and machines that think. Every obstacle we faced, we overcame. Every challenge we met, we conquered. She spread her hands. The stars were supposed to be beyond our reach. We reached them anyway. The Conquered was supposed to be all-powerful. We came anyway. And we will keep coming. We will keep growing. We will keep reaching. Helena stepped back from the center of the platform. So yes, Ambassador, let us discuss the future. Let us talk about treaties and trade and cooperation. Let us build something together that benefits all our peoples. She paused one final time. But let us do so as equals, because that is the only way humanity knows how to stand. The chamber was silent. For the first time in 12,000 years, the Conquered had no ready answer, no prepared response, no script to follow. The game had changed, and humanity was just getting started. The negotiations lasted 3 days, 3 days of arguments and discussions, 3 days of proposals and counter-proposals, 3 days of the Concord slowly realizing that humanity was not what they had expected. The humans negotiated like no species before them. They were polite but firm. They gave ground when it made sense, but they never surrendered anything important. They seemed to know exactly what they wanted and exactly how to get it. More disturbing were the technical discussions. When Concord engineers examined the shuttle that had brought the human delegation, they found technology they could not explain. The propulsion system was more efficient than anything the Concorde used. The computer systems processed information faster than seemed possible. Even the chairs were made of materials that Concorde scientists had never seen before. How is this possible? One engineer muttered as he studied the shuttle's engine. They have only had FTL for 60 years. We have had it for thousands. How are they ahead of us? No one had an answer. On the third night, Ambassador Thesic found himself unable to sleep. His mind would not stop racing. Everything he had believed about the natural order of the galaxy was crumbling. Everything he had taken for granted was being questioned. He left his quarters and wandered through the station's observation decks. He needed to think. He needed to understand. He found Captain Vasquez standing alone at a viewport, looking out at her ship. The Perseverance hung in the darkness like a sleeping giant, her running lights blinking softly against the stars. Thesic hesitated. Then he walked forward and stood beside her. You cannot sleep either, he asked. Helena glanced at him. A captain never truly sleeps when her ship is in unfamiliar territory. They stood in silence for a moment, both watching the dreadnought. May I ask you something? Thesic said finally. Of course. Why did you really come here? The truth, not the diplomatic version. Helena was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was softer than before. Because we had to know, she said. We had to know if the Concord was as powerful as the rumors said. We had to know if there was room in this galaxy for humanity to grow. We had to know if we would face friendship or conquest. And now? What do you know now? Helena smiled slightly. We know that the Concord is old. Powerful, yes. Wealthy, certainly, but old. You have stopped growing, Ambassador. You have become comfortable with your place in the universe. You have forgotten what it feels like to strive for something greater. Thesic wanted to argue, but he could not find the words. Deep down, he suspected she was right. We also know that there are good people in the Concord, Helena continued. People like you, Ambassador. People who genuinely want peace and cooperation. That gives us hope. Thesic turned to face her. I must ask you something else. Something that has been bothering me since you arrived. Go ahead. The Perseverance. Is she truly the extent of human power? One dreadnought against all the fleets of the Concord? Helena laughed softly. It was a genuine laugh, almost kind. Ambassador, the Perseverance is 60 years old. Thesic blinked. 60 years. But she is so advanced. She was advanced when she was built. Now she is simply reliable. A workhorse. A veteran. Helena looked at her ship with affection. We sent her because she is impressive enough to earn respect, but old enough that she does not reveal our true capabilities. Thesic felt a chill run down his spine. What do you mean? I mean that the Perseverance is not our newest ship. She is not our fastest ship. She is not our most powerful ship. Helena turned to face him directly. She is our handshake, Ambassador, firm and confident, but open, friendly. Then what is your ultimate ship? Helena was silent for a moment. Her eyes seemed to look past Thesic, past the station, into some distant future that only she could see. I do not know, she said finally. You do not know? The Perseverance was built 60 years ago, when humanity first reached the stars. Since then, our engineers have built many ships, each one better than the last, each one more powerful, more advanced, more capable. She shook her head slowly. But our ultimate ship, our greatest vessel, we have not built it yet. Thesic stared at her. I do not understand. We are still dreaming it, Ambassador. We are still imagining what it could be. Our scientists are still discovering new principles. Our engineers are still inventing new technologies. Every year we become capable of building things we could not build before. Helena's voice dropped to nearly a whisper. The Perseverance represents what humanity could do 60 years ago. Imagine what we will be able to do in another 60 years, or 600, or 6,000. Thesic felt dizzy. The implications of her words were staggering. You are saying that humanity has not yet reached its peak. We are saying that humanity does not believe in peaks, Ambassador. We believe in horizons. Every time we reach one, we see another beyond it. And we keep walking. She placed a hand on the viewport, her fingers touching the image of her ship. The Concord looks at the Perseverance and sees our power. They see weapons and armor and technology. They see a threat. Helena turned back to Thesic, and her eyes were intense. What they should see is a promise that humanity will keep growing, keep learning, keep reaching. Today we send a 60-year-old dreadnought to a peace summit. Tomorrow we might send something your greatest minds cannot even imagine. She stepped back from the viewport. We did not come here to fight the Concord, Ambassador. We came here to join the galactic community, to trade and cooperate and build friendships. But we also came here to deliver a message. What message? Helena smiled. It was not a threatening smile. It was the smile of someone sharing a great secret. Do not make us your enemy. Do not try to conquer us. Do not push us into a corner, because we do not know our own limits. We have never found them. And any species that forces us to discover just how powerful we can become, she paused. That species might not enjoy the answer. Thesic stood alone at the viewport for a long time after Helena left. He watched the Perseverance. He thought about everything she had said. A species that had not yet found its limits. A species that was still growing. A species that sent a 60-year-old ship to face the greatest power in the galaxy. not because it was their best, but because it was appropriate. For the first time in 300 years, Ambassador Thesic Valnorian felt something he had almost forgotten. Fear, not of the ship hanging in the darkness, but of what humanity might become. The treaty was signed on the seventh day. It was not the treaty that the Concord had planned. It was not the document of submission that they had prepared for yet another primitive species. Instead, it was something new, something unprecedented in 12,000 years of galactic history. It was a treaty between equals. The signing ceremony took place in the Grand Council chamber. Representatives from all 43 Concord species were present, along with the full human delegation. Secretary General Webb signed for Earth, his hands steady as he wrote his name on the ancient parchment that the Concord used for such occasions. There were no speeches of welcome from superior to inferior. There were no reminders of the natural order. There was only a simple exchange of agreements, followed by polite applause. Some of the Concord representatives clapped with genuine warmth. They saw opportunity in this new partnership. They saw the chance to learn from a young and dynamic species. Others clapped with barely hidden anger. They saw only humiliation. They saw their ancient traditions being swept aside by upstarts who had no right to stand among them. And some did not clap at all. They simply watched, calculating, wondering what this new arrangement would mean for their own power and position. Ambassador Thesic observed all of this from his place among the senior diplomats. He had changed in the past week. The confident certainty that had defined his career was gone, replaced by something more thoughtful, more humble. After the ceremony, there were celebrations and formal dinners. But Thesic did not attend. Instead, he returned to his quarters and began writing his report for the Concord archives. His aide Pellix found him there several hours later, still working by the light of a single lamp. Ambassador, the Council is asking for your assessment of the humans. They want it for the official records. Thesic looked up from his writing. His eyes were tired but alert. I am almost finished, he said. Come, sit. I want your opinion on something. Pellix sat nervously. He was not used to being asked for his opinions by senior diplomats. Tell me, Thesic said, what did you think of the humans? Pellix considered the question carefully. They are impressive, Ambassador, more than we expected. Their technology, their confidence, their determination. They are not like other newcomers. No, Thesic agreed. They are not. He turned back to his report and read the final paragraph aloud. The humans are not to be conquered. They are not to be threatened. They are not to be underestimated. Their history is one of endless conflict and endless growth. They have faced extinction many times on their homeworld and survived each time. They have turned every obstacle into a stepping stone, every defeat into a lesson, every enemy into either a friend or a memory. Pellix listened in silence. Most importantly, Thesic continued, they are not to be made desperate. A human with nothing to lose is the most dangerous creature in the galaxy. They will fight against impossible odds. They will sacrifice everything for victory. They will burn worlds and shatter fleets if they believe their survival depends on it. He set down his writing tool. The Concord has ruled for 12,000 years by making other species fear us. But fear is a weapon that can be turned against its user. If we try to frighten humanity into submission, we will only awaken something terrible. What do you recommend, Ambassador? Thesic was quiet for a long moment. Partnership, he said finally. True partnership, not the false kind we have offered to others. We must treat humanity as genuine equals, not because we want to, but because we have no other choice. They will accept nothing less. He stood and walked to his viewport. In the distance, he could see the Perseverance preparing for departure. Her running lights blinked in sequence as her crew made ready for the long journey home. There is something else, Thesic said quietly, something that frightens me more than their ships or their weapons. What is that, Ambassador? I asked their captain about humanity's ultimate ship, their greatest vessel, their most powerful weapon. Thesic shook his head slowly. She did not know. She said they have not built it yet. They are still dreaming it, still imagining it. He turned to face Pellix. Do you understand what that means? They sent a ship that is 60 years old to face us. 60 years. In that time, we have built nothing new. We have improved nothing. We have simply maintained what we already had. And the humans? The humans have gone from first achieving faster-than-light travel to building vessels that rival our greatest warships in 60 years. What will they build in the next 60, the next 600, the next 6,000? Pelix had no answer. We did not welcome a new member to the Concord today, Tessic said softly. We welcomed our replacements. Outside the viewport, the Perseverance began to move. Her massive engines glowed blue as she turned away from the station. Captain Vasquez stood on her bridge, watching Station Apex 7 grow smaller behind them. Secretary General Webb joined her, a satisfied smile on his face. Well done, Captain, he said. I believe we made quite an impression. Helena nodded. We did what we came to do. We showed them that humanity will not bow, will not break, will not be pushed aside. Do you think they understood the message? Helena thought about Ambassador Thesic, about the look in his eyes during their conversation on the observation deck, about the fear she had seen there, mixed with something that might have been respect. Some of them understood, she said. The smart ones, the ones who can see beyond their own traditions and assumptions. And the others? Helena smiled grimly. The others will learn, in time, one way or another. The Perseverance entered hyperspace, vanishing in a flash of light. Behind her, Station Apex 7 hung in the darkness, its inhabitants still trying to understand what had just happened. In his quarters, Ambassador Thesic finished his report and sealed it for the archives. Future generations would read his words and wonder at the day everything changed. Across the galaxy, on a small blue planet called Earth, children looked up at the stars and dreamed of the future. They did not know about treaties or politics or ancient galactic powers. They only knew that the universe was vast and full of wonders, and that humanity was just beginning to explore it. They dreamed of ships that could cross the galaxy in days, of stations that could house millions, of technologies that their ancestors could not have imagined. They dreamed without limits, and somewhere in those dreams, humanity's ultimate ship was taking shape, not in metal and circuits, but in imagination and determination, waiting to be built, waiting to be born. The Concorde had ruled the stars for 12,000 years, but the future belonged to those who could still dream, and humanity had never stopped dreaming.